Project coordinator, maybe before we even proceed, my question is a bit different. We have seeds which were donated from Tanzania, I think valued at 125,000 US dollars. And at the same time, I think ETG was engaged for storage purposes by the government. At the same time, when ETG was engaged, they were also, there's assumption that they were about to import the same also seeds at the same value from Tanzania. And we would like to know the role of ETG in these donated seeds. And also, even when the seeds were brought and stored by ETG, when going to plant, we want to know why the researchers or the people from ZARI, if they were involved, and PSU if they were involved, for accountability purposes, or which department was involved during, so that we can know in terms of accountability issues of the aforesaid seed. So there are two issues: the involvement of ETG, what was their role? Secondly is involvement of ZARI and other relevant or stakeholders to the movement of the seed, if it was stored in Lusaka, if it was stored in Mongu, or wherever it was stored. I think so that we look at accountability purposes. I think that's my question. So we really want to know the role which ETG played and the issues of the contract amount of that aforesaid seed. Honorable Lumai, you've got a follow-up question?
Maybe after your answer.
Okay. Honorable Daka.
Chair, just to add, controlling officer, the committee would want to find out whether the seed, which was valued at $125,000 by ETG, was deducted from the contract sum. In that effect, I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Through the PS project coordinator, I can proceed and answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy that you send us back to bring a lot of our people associated with the implementation. I'd like to call upon some of my colleagues to help me. Mr. Monga, where are you? On the ETG contract.
Where's Mr. Monga? Okay, so what we'll do, CEC, maybe you can take leave. When we come to your issue, then we'll call you, we can take seats. Mr. Monga, you can come. And the former procurement specialist, also you can come and take seats. Project coordinator, you can switch off your mic. So, Mr. Monga, you've been called upon by the coordinator to help us understand. There's a question on the floor. You can proceed and make your submission.
Thank you, Chair. The question that was asked, what was the role of ETG? I think through the communication that was done through PS's office, ETG was allowed to store the seed that was donated by His Excellency, the late President of Tanzania. To clarify, ETG had bought 25 metric tons prior to that donation that was received separately from the 25 tons which was later transported and stored by ETG. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, you can proceed, coordinator. Maybe before you proceed, we just make us understand, because what he has submitted, yes, is in summary, but would want to know: did you have a contract with ETG? Yes, we had a contract with ETG for so much. There was also a donation which came. We want to look at the timelines because we are dealing with the same 25 metric tons. So we don't know. There's a donation 25, there's a ETG 25. So the honorable members or this committee would like to know which came first. Did you have the contract with ETG before the donation was given? If that's a position, what transpired? Which came first? Where was the first seed stored? Who now distributed the seeds to that effect? That's what we want to put all these things together. Project coordinator, can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. The ETG had a contract with our government, a contract to produce, distribute cashew nut seedlings to all our 10 districts. We had a contract that was signed after due processes of procurement. The donation came in because ETG had already been producing seedlings for the project and distributing it. So the donation came in after, when they were already working on the cashew seedling production. Why it was stored by themselves? It was as a result of us in Mongo having no facilities that can keep polyclonal seedlings. So they requested our government that they had facilities in Lusaka, and that authority was given to them.
Project coordinator, do you have correspondence from ATG to that effect that they wrote, or the correspondences between the two? You can switch off the mic. Between the two, the government and ETG. Before you answer, Honorable Wamnyima, you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to know, where is this contract? Do they have it between the government with ETG? Okay, please. And then secondly, how were they as a project distinguishing the donation that they received from Tanzania and what ETG says they bought for $125 million? How are you distinguishing, since the storage facility was the same? I submit.
Thank you. I think the PS wants to come in. PS Western Province, you can, before you proceed, project coordinator, take into consideration Honorable Amnyima's question, very important. And just to expand slightly on the question, would want to see the acquittals for the two, for the donated seed when it was received, and the seed under the contract from ETG to that effect. PS, you can proceed.
Chair, good afternoon again. I think we are going full circle. This is the third sitting on these same matters. I think we don't want to be sent back to come again. Let me admit on behalf of ourselves, the Ministry of Agriculture is the PIU, but the project is seated in Western Province Administration. So my colleagues in agriculture, the PS, may not know so much about what was happening on the ground. We have sat in Western Province again to go through all the paperwork, through all this. There is a trend which is emerging. And that trend, that's what has led the auditors to ask the questions. If you ask one cashew nut seed looks like the other cashew nut seed, and it's not the government which asked ETG to look after our seeds or to store it from us, for them. It's ETG, it's strange, which asked whether they could keep our seed for us. What persuaded them, or what was the motivation, would be difficult to say. So you cannot tell in the acquittals whether what was given out first was ETG seed or whether it was our seed. that evidence is sort of hazy. It's lacking for lack of acquittals. I can go to the various other things you are saying. There's a general trend of failure to stick to prudent guidelines when you are dealing with matters of this nature. So, I don't want to keep the honorable members here to keep asking the same things you have asked before, and we still give you questionable answers. Maybe it's better at this stage also to say you are going to ask us a lot. We have gone through the things and there are questions. For example, in the last sitting, the honorable members of the Accounts Committee, Public Accounts Committee, were very right to say our procurement sometimes were outside the ZPPA regulations. Our defense was that the Africa Development Bank procurement regulations are standalone outside the. We have found that that is not true. So if that was done, we were being misguided, because in the same regulations, actually at the end, it says subject to national laws. So if we acted on the basis of ADB regulations didn't tell us to ignore our laws. So we are very sorry. We have to admit all those things which were being done outside were done wrongly if it was on the basis of ADB rules. Because the ADB rules put a proviso there, subject to national laws. So that's number one. As for the seed you are asking, we have investigated this matter. Out of 25 tons, how many seedlings would you have produced? After doing the audit, we are supposed to get net, that's at 75% germination. We are